Hello my dear sewing friends, it's Alisa here. And in this video I have for you more than 15 gift ideas that are quick and easy that you can sew. These are all real gifts, so not hypothetical, but real gifts that I have made, decorated, packed, and that I'm planning to give to my friends, family, and loved ones. I also feel that some of these ideas are quite fresh and perhaps not as beat up, so I truly hope that you're gonna get a lot of inspiration. And without any further ado, let's get started. I'm going to start with one of my all-time favorites. It's a yearly tradition for me. Some of you might know, and I want to show you how I went about it this year. Each year, I make a batch of handmade ornaments for the Christmas tree. Now, they don't necessarily have to be sewn, but a lot of times they are. Now, this year, however, I made 2 types of different ornaments, and I also had some left over from last year. So I decided to make these little gift boxes with 3 ornaments in each. I then add a little bit of festive candy and pack it all up with tissue paper to sort of finish it all up. And something like this I always give to my parents, my grandparents, aunts, uncles, and friends that are closest to my heart. I genuinely love tinkering with new design every single year, and also these are quite inexpensive, so if you're looking for a budget-friendly option, this definitely is that. Of course, the investment is in your time and your creativity, and I also try to make sure that whenever I make an ornament, I sort of tailor it to the preference or to something really significant that happened in the person's life to whom I'm giving this ornament. So it can be something like getting a new job, or perhaps starting a new hobby, or your favorite movie or cartoon character. Speaking of cartoon characters, I also added a handmade ornament to each one of these sets. I know that mugs can be a little bit frowned upon nowadays as a gift because people do have quite a lot of them, but these 2 are very special. These are hand painted, so I did hand paint them, and then they were glazed and fired, so these are food safe and you can use them for your tea or your soup or anything else that you desire. And on the inside, let me show you, I did put a little ornament that corresponds with a theme and a design on the mug. I guess my philosophy behind these is that in this day and age, it's really hard to surprise people with anything, even with handmade things. But an ornament does carry the sort of like sentimental value. Plus, it's really important for me to know that the things that I make and gift are going to be used and loved. I don't want to make something and spend my energy and resources and money on something that is going to just, collect dust underneath the bed, right? But here I know for sure that it's going to be taken out every holiday season, and it also carries the value of the memory. Oh, which year was this ornament made and why was it made? Is there something significant? Oh, it's a pink flamingo because, I love pink flamingos, for example. So I think if you're looking for something small but very, very special, this could be that thing that you can also make, gift, and not feel the pressure of reinventing the wheel every single year. And you know the drill, right? You will find all tutorials for all of these projects in the description right underneath this video. And with that, let's move on to idea number 2. Personally, I do prefer when gifts are a secret, but once again, when it comes to style, comfort, design preferences, sometimes it can be a little bit of a challenge to guess that exactly right. So now when I do have a request from my husband or my daughter for something that they really want as a gift, we talk about it, we think it through. It does become a special experience even though a gift is already known. So this year they've asked me, well, my husband did, and then from whatever was left, I made something for my daughter. My husband asked for a hoodie. The fabric here is really magical and beautiful, and we actually bought it together when the Joann's was still open. So that was like last year. And then I just never really had the time to finally sit down and get this done. But this year I was determined. I was like, you know what? Let's do this. The one for my husband has long sleeves, quite a long body, and a 3-piece hood. Now I did ask if he wanted a pocket or like a kangaroo pocket, and it was a no. My daughter, on the other hand, was all about a kangaroo pocket, but did not want to have a hood. And I even offered to make it a zipper front, and she didn't want that either. So basically, they made my life a little bit easier because I would have definitely done a zipper, and they ended up with things that they really wanted. Next up, we have a gift that I made per my sister's request, as she loves all things cooking and baking. So I made it into a little set. First of all, we have 2 cotton and linen towels. Then we move on to a set of pot holders. These ones are round and a really cool design. And last but not least, certainly, we have a crossback apron, otherwise known as the Japanese style one. I had more of this veggie fabric in my stash, so I think it worked for this set perfectly. For each one of these, there's of course a full detailed step-by-step tutorial on the channel, and what I love about gifts like these is that they also develop your sewing skills. Another thing that would really complement a gift like this would be something like a baking mix or baking supplies. Perhaps you can also write out your favorite recipes on a recipe card, or put in a really nice olive oil or anything of that sort. However, my sister does live overseas, so that complicates things a little bit because I can't send everything over, and especially not liquids. So we're gonna opt out of that, and I also may or may not send it in this box depending on the shipping costs. It might not be the most interesting gift idea out there, I totally get it. However, over the years, I have found out that kitchen gifts are not only some of the most used ones, but also the ones that people request from me on a regular basis. So things like hot pads, oven mitts, pot holders, tea towels, aprons, and anything of that sort definitely is a great option. While we're talking about the kitchen, I wanted to share with you an extra idea. I did this last year. It was a big hit, got great reviews from friends and family, so I'm doing this again this year. And an extra gift idea. So these are also towels, but these are dish towels. And if I take one out and unfold it, you will see that there's a really nice spongy texture to it. The fabric itself is linen cotton blend, and it's super absorbent, super nice, and you can use it for a lot of different things. I made a set of these for our own kitchen. I did dye them light green color because that's the color of our kitchen. And I kid you not, every time I'm drying dishes, this is the one that I go for. Although I love my very nice plain linen towels, this definitely does the job. I would say better and more efficient just because of that super absorbent texture. The trick, however, when you buy this fabric is that you need to hem it before the actual initial wash. So this is one of those instances where you get the fabric, you don't wash it first, you hem it, and once you put it through the wash and dryer, that's when it gets that texture. Then, to make this into a complete set, I make 4 of these, and I make a little fabric basket like that, and then I pack them all in real nice, add a little tag and a greeting card, and it's ready to go. Now the basket on its own is really great for other gifts and other things as well, so definitely keep that in mind. And as I mentioned, this fabric is multi-use, so this wasn't a Christmas gift. In fact, it was actually a Father's Day gift from a couple of years ago. I made my husband this really large blanket, and then my daughter wrote him a little wish on a piece of paper. After that, I transferred it onto a piece of linen and embroidered it on my sewing machine. So you can see the E is facing the other way because that's how she wrote it. She was really little. And then she actually hand stitched it by herself onto this corner of the blanket, and it made a really nice and also sentimental gift. I must say that sometimes when I have plenty of ideas of the things that I want to make for my loved ones, it does get quite overwhelming. So if you are in the same position, here's what I do. Usually, of course, I'm short on time, and who isn't nowadays? So I pick some ideas that I can batch sew, something that I can make that is still unique, still very personalized, but I can make multiples of, just like the ornament example at the very beginning of this video. And then of course, I make a list, a realistic list of things that I want to make and materials that go with them, so that way I can get them and not stress the very last minute before the holiday season really starts. This next one might be a little bit controversial, but I personally think that there's nothing wrong with this type of gift as long as you give it to the right person, which is usually a very close family member. And drum roll, I'm talking about undies. This is definitely one of the sewing topics on which I had to eat my words, and you know what, I'm happy to do so. There's nothing wrong about changing your opinions, but early on when I first started sewing, it was one of the things that I said, no way, there's no way I will never be sewing my own underwear. But then, fast forward, we had our daughter, and in my culture, we start potty training quite early, usually before the age of 1, and it was difficult finding really tiny underwear. So of course, I made my own. Now this little set I made for a little girl in about the same age range, and I would say that my philosophy on this topic is that nowadays, kids do get a lot more toys than what I remember growing up and what I remember my sister having, because we have quite a large difference. So I remember her childhood really well. And at that age, they don't really remember the gifts anyway. So as a parent myself, I'd rather be on the practical side, which is where this gift comes in. To make these, I did use a free pattern, and I know you're going to say, but Alisa, what about the boys? Well, the free pattern also includes a version for the boys, so definitely check it out. And to pull it all together, I did add a little set of handmade hair ties. This is a really quick and easy and also budget-friendly stocking stuffer, and a little set of handmade hair clips and scrunchies. To sum it up, I do think that giving underwear to young children in your family and to your spouse is definitely not a problem. If you do, however, find it a little bit questionable, then instead of underwear, why don't you make a pair of socks? People usually do socks as stocking stuffers anyway, but instead of buying a pair, you can actually use your colorful jersey scraps in order to make one. Without a doubt, I definitely had my skepticism about sewing socks, but we've been wearing ours for quite some time now, and they are great. Plus, if you already have fabric scraps, then you don't really need to spend anything extra on making this gift, which makes it a really great budget-friendly option, and it comes with a free pattern. As always, full tutorial you can find in the description of this video. girls that are of of the age of playing with Barbies, making a one-of-a-kind chic ball gown could definitely be very special and very magical. Now this year I'll be making one for my daughter, but in the past I've made some as gifts for other children for special occasions like birthdays, and they have been really well received, so it's definitely something to think about. Plus, I've heard that there is a Labubu craze going on. You know, those little, I don't know what they are, little monsters, little puffy bears, I'm not sure. But I've also did a little bit of research and found out that all ages really enjoy the Labubus, and some really like getting clothes for them. So if you have an adult or a child in your family and friends circle who is excited about Labubus, you can also put that on your list and perhaps make them a little outfit that they can put on their little monster friend. This list, of course, doesn't stop there. If your child plays with American Doll, with baby dolls, or anything else of that sort, you can also make clothes for them. It's just that my daughter doesn't play with them, so I don't mention them up front. But as always, take the idea and tailor it to what your needs are. Good old zipper pouch can't go without it, right? So my daughter wanted to make a couple of gifts for her friends at school, and we actually did dye this fabric together, so that was the first step, which makes it really unique. After that, we did add these hair ties. You already saw them a little bit earlier in the video. My daughter also wanted to add some candy, so we did that, and then she made bracelets for her friends, which I thought was so sweet. So if you have a child that wants to give gifts for their friends, maybe family members, this could be a really fun project to involve them in. Of course, let us not stop there when it comes to talking about the zipper pouch. So I made these color blocked ones for my friends this time. These are made from linen fabric scraps that I had, and I think that the color block design definitely adds a really nice sort of this fresh touch to it. The step-by-step tutorial for these is coming out really soon, so definitely keep your eye on it. And if you don't want to miss future videos, make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because otherwise you can't really trust YouTube to show you exactly what you want. At least in my case, I definitely have to go and seek it out and make sure that all of my ducks are in the row. Did you think that was all when it comes to zipper pouches? No, it isn't. So here we have a smaller zipper pouch like this. It actually is quite thick, so you can fit a lot of things in there, cosmetics and things like that. And this one is a little drawstring bag, so these two go together as a little set. On the inside of the drawstring pouch, I like to add things that the person would like. Something like tea or maybe coffee, cookies, jams, and things like that. It makes a perfect carrier, something that they can also use for their craft project, beauty supplies, and whatnot. And then of course the little zipper pouch on the side just adds to the set. A gift in the same category that I made a little bit earlier in the year. This one is mine, but it was exactly the same pattern, just different color scheme and different fabric. So it was a tote with a matching zipper pouch on the inside, and that was also really well received. But you have to be thoughtful though, because people nowadays do have lots and lots of totes. So definitely check before you make it, because that might be just one too many. Not everything has to be for the humans, you know? Sometimes we can make something really special for our furry friends as well. I started making these cat beds as a donation to our local animal shelter and as a way to use up some of the fabric scraps that I have, but my progress has stalled. So this holiday season, I'm determined. Everything that I have cut out is going to be finally put together, stuffed, and donated for those animals who are in need. With making something for animals though, you do have to be mindful of the character of that animal, because I've heard some dogs tear everything apart and then eat the stuffing, and that's definitely not what you want. So always check and double check and make sure that whatever you make is animal safe. Besides what you just saw, of course, there's a plethora of other ideas like headbands and scarves and hats, gloves and mittens, wallets and whatnot. And I do have a ton of tutorials for all of those things on my channel. So I definitely encourage you to look beyond and to definitely take a look at what other ideas are out there. On this side, I have for you additional ideas of gifts to sew. And on this side, if you're looking for a gift for a sewing friend, then here you will find 11 amazing sewing tools that I believe are worth every single penny. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy, thoughtful sewing. Bye!